but can do so only after their own manner, which is human and base. As we have said, it is meet that its faculties be in darkness concerning these divine things likewise. Thus, being weaned and purged and annihilated in this respect first of all, they may lose that base and human way of receiving and acting, and thus all these faculties and desires of the soul may come to be prepared and tempered in such a way as to be able to receive, feel, and taste that which is divine and supernatural after a lofty and sublime manner, which is impossible if the old man die not first of all. Hence it follows that all spiritual things, if they come not from above and be not communicated by the Father of lights to human desire and free will, howsoever much a man may exercise his taste and faculties for God, and howsoever much it may seem to the faculties that they are experiencing these things, will not be experienced after a divine and spiritual manner, but after a human and natural manner, just as other things are experienced. For spiritual blessings go not from man to God, but come from God to man. With respect to this, if this were the proper place for it, we might here explain how there are many persons whose many tastes and affections, and the operations of whose faculties, are fixed upon God or upon spiritual things, and who may perhaps think that this is supernatural and spiritual, when it is perhaps no more than the most human and natural desires and actions. They regard these good things with the same disposition as they have for other things, by means of a certain natural facility which they possess for directing their desires and faculties to anything whatever. If perchance we find occasion elsewhere in this book, we shall treat of this, describing certain signs which indicate when the interior actions and motions of the soul, with respect to communion with God, are only natural, when they are spiritual, and when they are both natural and spiritual. It suffices for us here to know that, in order that the interior motions and acts of the soul may come to be moved by God divinely, they must first be darkened and put to sleep and hushed to rest naturally, as touching all their capacity and operation, until they have no more strength. Therefore, O spiritual soul, when thou seest thy desire obscured, thy affections arid and constrained, and thy faculties bereft of their capacity for any interior exercise, be not afflicted by this, but rather consider it a great happiness, since God is freeing thee from thyself and taking the matter from thy hands. For with those hands, howsoever well they may serve thee, thou wouldst never labor so effectively, so perfectly, and so securely, because of their clumsiness and uncleanness, as now, when God takes thy hand and guides thee in the darkness, as though thou wert blind, to an end and by a way which thou knowest not, nor couldst thou ever hope to travel with the aid of thine own eyes and feet, howsoever good thou be as a walker. The reason again why the soul not only travels securely when it travels thus in the darkness, but also achieves even greater gain and progress, is that usually when the soul is receiving fresh advantage and profit, this comes by a way that it least understands. Indeed, it quite commonly believes that it is losing ground. For as it has never experienced that new feeling which drives it forth and dazzles it and makes it depart recklessly from its former way of life, it thinks itself to be losing ground rather than gaining and progressing, since it sees that it is losing with respect to that which it knew and enjoyed, and is going by a way which it knows not, and wherein it finds no enjoyment. It is like the traveler, who in order to go to new and unknown lands takes new roads, unknown and untried, and journeys unguided by his past experience, but doubtingly and according to what others say. It is clear that such a man could not reach new countries or add to his past experience if he went not along new and unknown roads, and abandoned those which were known to him. Exactly so, one who is learning fresh details concerning any office or art always proceeds in darkness, and receives no guidance from his original knowledge. For if he left not that behind, he would get no farther, nor make any progress. And in the same way, when the soul is making most progress, it is traveling in darkness, knowing nothing. Wherefore, since God, as we have said, is the master and guide of this blind soul, it may well and truly rejoice, once it has learned to understand this, and say, "In darkness and secure." There is another reason why the soul has walked securely in this darkness, and this is because it has been suffering. For the road of suffering is more secure and even more profitable than that of fruition and action. First, because in suffering the strength of God is added to that of man, while in action and fruition the soul is practicing its own weaknesses and imperfections. And second, because in suffering the soul continues to practice and acquire the virtues, and become purer, wiser, and more cautious. But there is another and more important reason why the soul now walks in darkness, and securely. This emanates from the dark light or wisdom aforementioned. For in such a way does this dark night of contemplation absorb and immerse the soul in itself, and so near does it bring the soul to God, that it protects and delivers it from all that is not God. For this soul is now, as it were, undergoing a cure, in order that it may regain its health being God himself. His Majesty restricts it to a diet and abstinence from all things, and takes away its appetite for them all. It is like a sick man who,